America's Voice family.
Are you on Gettr yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored.
And it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Gettr app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Gettr.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec.
And so many more.
And the best part?
You can watch Real America's Voice right there on Gettr.
Live.
So join the conversation.
Hop on the Gettr chat room.
Engage with patriots who are just like you.
Good morning, Gettr friends.
We're breaking news, we're delivering the truth,
And we're doing it on Gettr
Every single day. So don't wait. Download the Gettr app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
It isn't just an app. It isn't just a social media platform. It's a community.
The first annual American Border Heroes Awards starts right now.
Good evening, America. Happy Friday, and welcome to night 2 of a very special event, the inaugural American Border Heroes Awards, hosted here by Just the News and Real America's Voice, and made possible by our incredible partner for the night, the American Border Story. Last night, we honored the lawmen and women on the front lines of keeping America safe during the Biden-era border crisis, and those who have closed the border down in record time under President Donald Trump. We honored folks like Border Czar Tom Homan, Border Patrol agents like Art Del Cueto, and local sheriffs like Kieran Donahue. Tonight, we're going to pivot and honor the families who paid the ultimate sacrifice during the crisis. We want you to hear their stories firsthand. We want you to remember their names, and we want to make sure America never forgets the horrors they endured and the resilience and resolve they showed to turn tragedy into progress right here in this country. We also will make sure tonight that America never forgets this failed era of security and is never tempted to have it repeated. To make that possible, the American Border Story is unveiling 3 extraordinary scholarships to honor 3 remarkable women who left this earth far too early. We'll get to that in just a bit, but first, let me turn to my amazing co-host, Amanda Head, as always here at this time of the show. Amanda, it was an amazing night last night. There were moments where I just wanted to well up with tears. You were sitting out there with all the angel families. They're back here again tonight. Thoughts about what you heard, you saw, and witnessed last night?
Yeah, you know, it's always important, and you and I talk about this a lot on our TV show. We talk about the facts and the figures and the data that pertains to this crisis, but the human side is just as much, if not more important. Hearing the stories, hearing the impact that losing this loved one had on their family, had on their community. You know, many of these were Border Patrol agents, people who were a part of law enforcement, so that, of course, devastated the community. And I think it's so important because oftentimes we get stuck in the push and the pull and the yin and the yang and the red and the blue between what is happening at our border. And at the center is the people who are getting torn apart, the families that are getting torn apart because they lost a loved one. It's heartbreaking. It
is heartbreaking. Those same families showed resilience that I could not even imagine. I don't think I'd have the courage to do what they did during this time. When I was a younger reporter on 9/11, I was on the Memorial Bridge the moment the plane hit the Pentagon. I saw the fireball go up. One of my friends, good friends, was on that plane. And we said after that, we will never forget, that we will always remember and honor the sacrifices of the victims. And I say to everyone in the audience tonight, we need to make the same commitment to the victims, to the heroes of the border crisis. We may never allow their names to be forgotten, their stories to be untold, the horrors to be repeated in this country. And I think tonight that's what we are going to be talking about all night long. It is an extraordinary opportunity, and I just feel so lucky. I want to thank the American Border Story for making this extraordinary 2-day event. I thank Real America's Voice for making the time for it, and we're going to have some real conversations here. We're going to start tonight with a really important moment, and that is to talk to people who lived the horror, who went through unspeakable tragedy, had every right to close up and go away and hide in their homes, but instead got out front and told us all we can do better than this, and they willed America to what has happened in the last few months. And I think that there is no more extraordinary group of people than everyday Americans who rise to the call in the face of tragedy and make amazing things happen. And we're joined all throughout the night for those sort of American heroes. That's what they are. We are going to, in a little bit, unveil the first ever Lakin Riley, Jocelyn Nungry, and Rachel Morin scholarships. That's going to come in a little bit. But the American Border Story wants to make certain that future generations of Americans know them too and never forget their loss or the folly of the last 4 years. We're going to unveil those scholarships as part of the American Border Story Scholarship Fund in a little bit. I can't wait for that. I'm really excited. But first, we're going to have a panel discussion. I'm really excited about it. Joining me here on set is the mom of Jocelyn Nungry. I've watched you so long over the last couple of years go through this horror. Alexis, you showed incredible courage. You had one of the youngest victims of this tragedy. I can't wait to hear your story tonight. We're going to talk about it and have a great conversation. Also on set, the sister of Lakin Riley, also a University of Georgia student, Lauren Phillips. Lauren, good to have you here. I know your parents are back too. They're very proud, and I'm so honored to have you here. And joining us remotely, just a little ways away, is the mother of Sarah Root, Michelle Root. Michelle, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Michelle, this is a very special night for your family. I am so honored that you would spend some of it with us. Tonight was Sarah's birthday, correct?
Correct. May 1st is Sarah's birthday. She would have been 31 today.
It's unbelievable. Remind us, tell us of her story. It was a little longer ago, but it's just as powerful.
It was. She was killed the night of her college graduation. It was January 30th when she graduated 2016 from college. She was out celebrating. On her way home, she was stopped at a stoplight at 33rd and L over in Omaha, Nebraska, where she was rear-ended by Eswin Mejia, going 70 plus miles an hour with a blood alcohol of 0.241. And he caused her instant brain death.
Right in the prime of her life. So much future and brightness ahead of her. How long did it take to get justice?
Well, we're still fighting for it, but he was captured just on February 27th of this year. Thank you, President Trump and your administration and everybody that's worked so hard to get these criminals back here into the United States to serve justice. I want justice for every one of us. And we are just so grateful and thankful that the administration still continued to fight to bring him back.
Michelle, I know that capturing the killer was a huge part of the recovery process for you. Not that you will ever fully recover, but what else do you want to see that President Trump and Congress can do, laws that they can pass, executive orders President Trump can sign, that will make you feel like things are really, really moving in a better direction as far as the border?
Honestly, I already feel like that's being done. I can't think of anything other than what they have already put in place. You know, we keep saying we need new laws. No, we just need to follow the laws that are already out there.
Yeah, so true. Lauren, I want to turn to you for a second. We know your sister's story, but you knew your sister like no one else. Tell us, what was Lakin like?
I could talk about her for forever, but obviously, being her younger sister, I got to witness the person that she was firsthand, which I'm extremely grateful for. But she was just the person that everyone wanted to meet and be around, and she was so inspirational. And just the biggest thing that comes to mind when I think about Lakin is her faith and how Jesus just radiated out of her. And it's inspiring, and I'm just so grateful. And losing her has left a big hole.
I bet it has. You walked the same campus she walked.
I do.
Do you see her friends, and how do they remember?
I do. I mean, she was the same with every person that she met. So, like, obviously, I got to spend a lot of time with her, but her roommates would say the exact same thing. Her best friends would say the exact same thing, that she's just a light, and she continues to be a light. It hasn't ended, but it's just a hole that will never be filled.
Alexis, you had, I think, the youngest loss of anyone I can remember in this horrible story. Your daughter was amazing, and just in that incredible age where young girls become women. Tell us a little bit about her.
She was very creative. She thrived with music. She was the kindest friend anyone could ask for. I've had the pleasure of getting to know her friends on a deeper level after this tragedy, and her spirit radiated through them. They were reminded that there are kind souls still out there, and she was very an old soul, I felt. Even though she was only 12, it seemed like she was born in the 90s almost. She loved music that was beyond my time.
Wow. That is old soul.
She liked 50s style, 60s style. She loved to dress like she was from the 90s.
No kidding.
And she was very, very talented. She aspired to be a famous actress. She said, Mom, everyone's going to know who I am one day. And I'm here to keep shedding light on her story.
You're going to make sure that happens.
For sure.
Alexis, when you see what a political football this unfortunately became, it's a life and death situation. It should never be something that is caught between politics. But do you feel like, I suppose that people have woken up, people who maybe, without knowing you, without knowing your story, Lauren, you as well, maybe they woke up a little?
For sure, most definitely. I would say even me and my family have woken up. I was never really big into the politics. My family never really spoke much on politics until it kind of hit our front door, literally. And it kind of shed light and awareness to really understand what we're having as a country. And there's so much that has been wrong and has been overlooked and just turned the other way. And I never asked to be in the spotlight. I never asked to do this, and I never asked for my daughter to lose her life. But she did, and that is what happened, and I am now going to keep sharing her story to help make change. It's not about right or wrong. It's not about left or right. It is about what's right.
I can't imagine if I lost my son, what I would feel like, what I would do. Watching you, each of you, get up from this tragedy and then say, rather than fold up, I'm going to try to help this country get to the common sense place it needs to. We're in a moment of insanity. Where did you find that strength? How did it happen? When did you know you needed to do that?
By just being strong. The Houston's Crime Stoppers were very helpful with me in navigating the very beginning stages of all of it. And she just kept reminding me, April was just saying, honestly, it's going to pay off. I promise you, if you get through it now, it won't get easier and it won't bring her back, but at least it'll shed light on her story. And that, as well as walking in a very strong faith with Jesus. He is my strength that has gotten me through every single day, and why I know that I will see her again. He has a plan for me, he has bigger purpose for me, and it was just her time.
You answered his call. See, that's an amazing thing. It is amazing. Michelle, you've been almost a decade on this journey, or about a decade, I guess. Tell us a little bit about what that journey looks like 2 and 3 years into it, because the pain never goes away. The cry for justice still sits there and echoes every day. What's the journey been like over this last decade for you?
It has been difficult, but as they're saying, faith keeps you going. It is my form of therapy to keep speaking her story and meeting, unfortunately, the other angel families has really been a support group that has helped me through a lot of things.
Yeah, they're all sitting, there's 21 families sitting in our studio today, and every one of them creates a sense of community and family and patriotism. We are so lucky to be in all of your presence today. On this night, on Sarah Root's birthday, all of us have an obligation to make sure that what happened to these extraordinary women doesn't ever happen again in this country. We can't forget. We must hold resolve and keep that border secure for future generations. To each of you tonight, thank you so much for being with us. We are going to honor your loved ones as long as I can hold a pen and a pencil and a mic, and I know, Penny, you're the same way.
Yep.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, a very exciting announcement. Those scholarships we were telling you about, we're going to get to those right after a quick few messages. We go back.
Life was so much more. That's not her. And what happened to her is not her. Who did it is not her. She's her, and she's so much more than that. And that hasn't been portrayed often.
That's what the American Border Story does every day, putting stories out together so we never forget those lost to this incredible scourge. Lakin's mom and dad are in the audience. You just got to meet her sister. That was remarkable. We've got some amazing things we're about to do. We will make sure young students in the future will also know Lakin's story and that of Jocelyn and Rachel. And as part of it, we will also make certain that they are set on a course for the success that Lakin, Jocelyn, and Rachel were deprived of. We can do that because of the generosity of the American Border Story. Joining me to unveil these new scholarships is Nicole Kipeloff, the founder of the American Border Story. Nicole, another amazing night. This is an incredible thing. Those little short videos you tell of people just bring everything to life. Tonight's a very big move forward for you, your group, and for the country, I think.
Absolutely. Look, it's the least we can do for these families. We're just trying to do our part. And I think it's particularly beautiful what you said about how with this scholarship fund that I'm about to announce, we're actually continuing the success of the victims of the border crisis. If their lives weren't taken from them that soon, they would have probably followed in this path, and so this is one way of us remembering their legacy and continuing their success in our hearts. So the American Border Story is honored to officially announce the creation of the American Border Story Scholarship Fund, and it's named, like John said, after 3 of the victims of the border crisis: Lakin Riley, Jocelyn Nungarai, and Rachel Morin. It's to honor their memory and preserve their legacy. And the American Border Stories Lakin Riley Scholarship will be awarded to one recipient who is studying nursing. We know that nursing was a passion of Lakin Riley, and that's what she was studying. The American Border Stories Jocelyn Nungarai Scholarship will be awarded to one student who is studying to become a wildlife conservationist or biologist. We know that Jocelyn was very passionate about animals and preserving the environment. And the American Border Stories Rachel Morin Scholarship will be awarded to one recipient who is studying to become a law enforcement officer. We honored our law enforcement last night, and we know the critical role that they play here. So as we honor the memory of these three absolutely inspirational women who were tragically taken from us, we strive to preserve their stories and legacies for generations to come. If you would like to make a donation to our scholarship fund, please visit www.theamericanborderstory.com and click on Donate.
Yeah.
Now we're going out to the audience and my colleague Amanda Head for some reactions from the Angel families.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole, and thank you everybody in this room for being here. We are joined by Allison Phillips, Laken Riley's mom, and Dad over there, John. We honor both of you, and then Agnes Gibney, who I've known since the border days when I was down there traveling with Real America's Voice. Tell us about your son.
My only son, my firstborn, was murdered by a previously deported criminal illegal alien. He was shot in the arm, and the bullet traveled across his chest, severing a main artery, and he died in surgery.
Yeah. Tell us about his life.
Ronald was a very special kid. He was very neat, very caring. If he had one candy, he would cut it to give me half. He loved animals. He would pick up lizards and bring it in the house because he wanted to save them. Birds and crows that would fall off a tree. A prankster. But he gave the best hugs. And most of all, what I missed most is him telling me, "I love you, Mommy."
Where do you think he would be today?
That's a good question, something I will never know. Because it's been 23 years that he was killed. He would have been 52 years old this past January.
Goodness. As you have watched the evolution of the border crisis, President Trump trying to do as much as he could in his first term, and then Joe Biden coming into office and just turning into complete upheaval, reversing all of the accomplishments and all of the security that President Trump instilled. And then President Trump coming along this time around, it seems like President Trump is acting more aggressively to get this done in a very quick manner. What do you think on that?
I love it. President Trump is the only one that gave us a voice about all the victims of illegal alien crime. There was hundreds of us. And he's an alpha male. He gets the job done. He doesn't get intimidated. And President Trump, if you're watching, I love you, love you, love you. In the last administration, I wanted to leave the United States. And because of Trump, I'm again a proud American citizen.
Did the Biden administration ever reach out to you? Or, I mean, I suppose this happened way before that. Obama, anybody?
Nobody cared. Some politicians would want a photo op, but they did nothing and didn't care. President Trump is the only one that cared about our children, our family members who have been victimized by illegal aliens.
You know, when people go up to Capitol Hill and they serve in office, we often think of them as policymakers and that they've been doing that their whole lives. And sometimes we forget that they have, you know, they're just normal people, and they are normal people with really good ideas sometimes. So I know that with the loss of your son, you've probably had a lot of time to think about ideas, ways that, you know, maybe outside the box ideas, which President Trump is very good at it. When it comes to fixing the border, is there anything else that you would like to tell President Trump, hey, why don't we try this?
One thing I would like to try is end all sanctuary states, sanctuary cities. Number two, have law enforcement have the power to do the job that they were hired to do, and keep statistics on every crime committed by illegal alien, robbery, burglary, assaults, rape, murder, and where they come from, so we can have a better idea which country we need to really protect the United States and the citizens of this country from.
I know you saw those posters that were set up at the White House of the people who have been arrested and most of them deported. Do you think that's a good way to get the message across to, let's say, media that don't really want to cover it?
Well, it is for us, for the public who really cares about this issue. For the fake media, they don't care. They probably find it offensive. I don't. I think all their pictures should be plastered all over town so everybody would know who these criminals are.
Well, President Trump and his administration, the press secretary, I think, are doing their best to get that message out there, even if the media doesn't want to listen. Agnes Gibney, Allison Phillips, your husband, John, thank you so much for being here. John and Nicole, back to you.
Thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you, Agnes, for sharing your story. I know our team at the American Border Story was absolutely honored to travel to Agnes's home in California and interview her about her experience and about her son. And so stay tuned for that documentary coming out soon at the American Border Story. But coming up shortly, you will hear from more Angel families with heartbreaking stories of losing their loved ones to illegal immigration. Chris Odette's daughter, Krisha Odette, was killed by an illegal alien driving without a license. Krisha's murderer was finally apprehended last month because of President Trump's immigration policies to make this country safer. Agnes Gibney's son, Ronald De Silva, who you just heard, was shot and killed by a deported criminal illegal alien while pushing his best friend out of the way and taking the bullet. Bonnie Driscoll's daughter, Lacey Marie Ferguson, was murdered by an illegal alien in California, and now the state of California is considering letting Lacey's murderer free. Angie Morfin's 13-year-old Reuben Morfin was killed by a group of illegal alien gang members. Vicky Schmermock's daughter, Danielle Shermock, was killed by an illegal alien drunk driver. Danielle left behind 2 small children, and her killer is still on the loose. Marianne Mendoza lost her 32-year-old son in an accident caused by an illegal immigrant. Chris Story's brother, Joe Story, was killed in an accident by an illegal immigrant who Biden took off the top 10 most wanted list. Can you imagine that? Michelle Root's daughter, Sarah Root, who you heard from, was also killed by an illegal immigrant drunk driver, and the killer was finally caught after President Trump and his administration took office and delivered justice to the Root family. Jody Jones's brother, Rocky Jones, was killed by an illegal alien who was arrested just 24 hours before Rocky's murder, but was released due to California's sanctuary city laws again. April Babcock, the founder of Lost Voices of Fentanyl, lost her son Austin to fentanyl in 2019. Jackie Long and Anita Puckett also lost their boys under the Biden administration when drug cartels flooded our country with poisonous fentanyl. These grieving Angel families have come together today to share their stories and how they are turning grief into purpose.
What a great group of people. Heroes, every one of them, and you're going to get to meet each of them before this night is out. All right, Nicole, we're going to get to that shortly, but first, we're going to take a quick commercial break. They turned grief into progress and exhorted a nation to end the madness of the Biden years. They're going to tell us how and why. We've got, I think, a total of 9 families we're going to do in the next segment here. Joining me on set first, we have more out with Amanda, is Chris Odette. Chris, welcome to have you. Good to have you here. Agnes Gibney, Marianne Mendoza, and Vicki Lee Shermack. Good to have you here today. God bless you all, and thank you so much, and thank you for the grace you've shown all through this difficult time. I want to go right down the table. I want each of you to tell us about your son and daughter, what we should know about them. We'll start with you, Chris.
Well, my daughter Krisha was 13 at the time that I lost her. She was an exceptionally intelligent young lady. She could play the violin. She was teaching herself the guitar. She played the piano. She spoke Spanish because her mother was Puerto Rican. She spoke English. She had just started high school at the age of 13. She would have graduated high school at 17. She had a huge heart. She was often late to class because she liked to hold the door open for everybody instead of just going on, and she told me she couldn't help it. She couldn't just let anybody just walk through. She was such a bright light in people's lives that when we moved to the new high school, only being there a few months when she was killed, the students stopped sitting in her spot in the cafeteria. They said that was Krisha's spot.
Wow.
She had just an amazing impact on people, a huge heart, very loving.
A huge hole in your life when she's gone, I know. Just I
Beyond
can't
words.
imagine. Can't imagine. Agnes, you carry that picture of your son around. I know that. Tell us about him.
This is my firstborn and only son, Ronald da Silva, that was killed by a previously deported criminal illegal alien. And I want to share this picture with the audience. No parent should ever have to go to a cemetery to celebrate their child's birthday. And this was this past January. Ronald would have been 52 years old. My son was very special. He was very caring, very kind, very loving. Had the most beautiful smile, and that's one thing that everybody said at his memorial service, that they're going to miss his smile. He was a good friend to everyone, very caring. And I was left with dreams that were not completed. This chapter will never be completed. I will never know what could have been. And the last 23 years was stolen from my family, from me, because of new memories that could have been created.
Yeah. All of you have been robbed of these extraordinary things. I want, Vicki Lee, I want to ask for a second. Tell us about your family, what you went through.
My daughter was 25 years old when her life was stolen from her. She was on the way home from work with her 2 children in her car, ages 4 and 16 months. And the criminal alien, he hit her head on and literally ran over her, killing her instantly. My granddaughter, 4-year-old, she was dead at the scene, revived and airlifted into a trauma center. My grandson was 16 months old, and he would just had just minor injuries. The illegal that killed her was driving on the wrong side of the road. He was drunk and high on cocaine, and he sustained 2 broken legs. And while he was in rehab, his family come in and snuck him out in the middle of the night. He's still a fugitive now, 23 years later.
Oh my gosh.
So.
Your grandson's out in the audience. We're going to get to meet him, aren't we?
He is.
Going to bring
He's
him
amazing.
in just a second. That's so awesome.
He's
Thank
amazing.
you for bringing him here with us too.
Thank you.
Marianne, tell us about your family and what you went through.
My son, Sergeant Brandon Mendoza of the Mesa, Arizona Police Department, was on his way home from work, and a 3 times illegal limit drunk illegal, who was also high on meth, had been arguing with his wife and his brother, going back and forth all day. They kept letting him get into the car. He got on our freeway system in Phoenix, drove over 35 miles the wrong way on 4 different freeways before crashing head-on into my son going 104 miles an hour. The dreaded knock at the door when your son is a law enforcement officer, the police officer standing there. We went down to the hospital, and 15 minutes after I arrived, Brandon died from his injuries in surgery. Brandon was huge force in our community. He cleaned up a homeless, illegal encampment in a park, got rid of the drug dealers, allowed the neighborhood to reclaim a family park. And you can go by there today and still see those families. A ball field in the middle of it named the Sergeant Mendoza ball field, and his memory lives on with the people that he loved and cared about.
Serving his country right to the last minute.
Yes.
I want to go back around because we're educating everybody who hasn't been through this, and there's more we can do for families, angel families. For everyone represented here, there are hundreds more that we haven't been able to get in the show yet, but they're out there. I'm going to start with you, Marianne, and come back around this way. Tell us what we as Americans, what our government, what our Washington political representatives can do to make sure angel families get all the support they need. What are the things that we still fall short on?
The first thing that I would say is our duly elected representatives in Washington need to give these families a call. They need to acknowledge the loss in their communities, in their state. We need to have our public, our friends, people who cared about our loved ones, say their name, come and talk to us. Don't make us feel like we're something that you need to hide, because that is a huge part of getting over the pain. But the main thing is having a leader like President Trump who understands that the law of the land is going to make our country safe and secure and make American citizens appreciate that type of environment is the biggest thing that these politicians can do. And don't deny us the truth. Look us in the eye and acknowledge that our loved ones have been killed by illegal aliens allowed into our country.
Yeah, we deserve the truth. You
Yes.
deserve the truth. Vicki Lee?
I would agree with everything that Mariana said, and plus I would also add that we need to get rid of these sanctuary cities, these sanctuary states. We need to give Border Patrol and our borders are everything that they need, the monies, the willpower, the manpower, everything that they need. We have been very fortunate that we have made a lot of friends through our tragedies, and it has been so helpful just to know that somebody else has shared in our grief and can dry our tears and be a shoulder to lean on.
It is an amazing community, just watching these last 2 days, how touching it is, how you all support each other, and how the commonality of pain and also creating good from that pain keeps you bonded together. It's an amazing thing. We honor you in so many ways.
Thank you.
Agnes, what are we missing from the list?
A lot of things. These politicians need to be held accountable for not securing our border, and they need to be charged because they're an accomplice to the many hundreds and thousands of Americans that are victimized. I would like to see E-Verify enforced and implemented. I would like to see every public assistance eliminated to any illegal alien, including children that are born into our country. Maybe wait until they're 18 years old, and if you choose to be an American citizen, you can become an American citizen, but not at the expense of us taxpayers. And have stricter laws, for God's sakes, because these illegal aliens are looking at us as nothing but cash cows. And now they get Medicare, now they get all kinds of benefits, and people are ignorant about this. They say, oh, illegal aliens can't get public assistance. Yes, they do. Maybe not directly through welfare, but they get it through their church or through other these organizations. They get public federal grants. That needs to stop. And birthright citizenship also, because they don't belong here. And deport them all. One by one, deport them all.
Supreme Court's going to answer one of those questions soon on birthright citizenship. It's going to be an important one. Chris, we started with you. We're going to finish this block with you. What else do we need to do from all the things you and your amazing family went through?
Well, you know, there's a journey that started when my daughter was killed that left me with a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. 287G program being restarted, it needs to be mandatory, not voluntary, because some of the excuses that have been is we don't have anyone that's deputized to do law enforcement, border enforcement. Well, if every police department has at least one, you can't tell me that there's only one law enforcement agent in the entire county.
That's right.
So if every county has, every law enforcement agency has at least one person that's deputized to act as an ICE agent, and enforce immigration, then they can't deny it. There was something that I learned in trying to understand the laws with how my daughter was killed, and I learned about fusion cells. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but they are actually ran by FEMA, of all things. FEMA is in charge of the funding. Fusion cells are not allowed to tell other fusion cells when they have a known target passing through their AO.
Crazy.
This needs to be shared. Information needs to be shared between each fusion cell. And more importantly, the intelligence that's collected from law enforcement goes up to the highest levels, but it does not come back down. The FBI hears about information. They are not obligated to pass it back down. If law enforcement is sharing information both directions all across the nation, then you have a better chance of knowing when you have a known target or an illegal alien in the area, and making sure that the statistics, even though we don't want our families to be statistics, we don't have a say in it. They need to know the crimes that are committed, the amount of crimes that are committed, the ages, the locations, where are they from, and more importantly, this ridiculous concept of privacy rights for illegals. Privacy rights are supposed to be for U.S. citizens. They have no privacy rights. Angel parents cannot find out very much information. The voice program going through Vine to locate your people, if they're not in their system, you can't get any information. And it's considered privacy to ask for it. They don't have privacy. They came into the country, they violated our sovereignty, and every crime they've committed since then takes one more layer of their privacy away. We all should be given that opportunity. It should be mandatory. Law enforcement tells us what is going on with that person, where they're at in the system. Now we have to inquire about it. It should automatically, case opened, and we get the information.
We should bring all of you together with members of Congress who have yet to show the courage to get these things done. Have them look at you and get these things done. Your wisdom, I know, is forged through pain, but you have a lot of wisdom, and you're giving us that ability to fix this, not for one time or one presidency, but for the rest of this country's history. To each of you, thank you for coming here tonight, for making all of this possible. We're a lot smarter because of your courage and your wisdom, and we are always going to honor your children. I promise you that. We have some more families outside with Amanda. So, Amanda, we're going to kick things out to you out in the audience.
Thank you so much, John. Yeah, look, these are about the story, so I want to get into some of the stories. I know that we have maybe just briefly mentioned some of them in the part one of this special, but for people who are just now tuning in, I want everybody to hear their stories. Angie Morphin, your son Ruben, our precious boy, tell us about him.
Oh my God, he was just a baby, and he was walking home to my mom's house, and two carloads of gangbangers stopped and beat up on the kids. And my son was actually grabbed by the shoulder and shot in the back of the head, point blank. When I got to the hospital, the doctor told me that they were going to turn off the machine because he was only living off the machine, that they had just blown out half of his brains, and that if he lived, he would be a vegetable for the rest of his life. The guy who killed my son, I didn't know anything about him, but God's grace, they aired my son's story on America's Most Wanted. A few months later, they got word that Mariscal was in the state of Jalisco, Mexico. Foreign Prosecution Unit that's stationed in San Diego went into Mexico, put a warrant for his arrest, and he served 20 years in a Mexican state prison for my son's death. It took a long time, and some people say, well, you got justice, but it's been 34 years for me, and I could cry for him like if it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It's something you just can't forget.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that justice doesn't bring him back.
No, it doesn't. And it's hurt my whole family. It destroys a whole family and a community. And what I'd like to see is, like, I live in Monterey County, Salinas, California, and they say it's not a sanctuary city, but it is. They protect them, and they've even decided to, supervisors decided to protect the illegals. And city councils know better.
Oh, man. I'm so sorry about that. Maria, your son, Javier Vega Jr., we honored him last night in the first part of this show. What do you want the world to remember about your son?
Well, the way I'm going to answer that question is, it's been over a decade. We're almost going on 11 years. And to this date, just like today, he was honored. His friends, his classmates, his co-workers, our families, both mine and my husband, they say his name all the time. And it just, it's hard doing each day without him. And the fact that as a grandmother, I know that his sons, my grandsons, have to do life without him. It's just heartbreaking. And this is one of the reasons why we all speak up. We don't want anyone else to suffer a loss like this. So, but it's just, just the fact that there was a street named after him. There was a checkpoint renamed after him. This is from his coworkers. This was friends of ours. Some of his classmates, they had a brick placed at the Veterans Monument where we live. And they're always trying to do things in memory of him. So it just gives us some comfort. But like I said, this is hard doing life without our children. Yes.
Parents should never have to bury their children. It's just not the way that the order of life should go. Yeah. Bonnie Driscoll, your daughter, Lacey Marie Ferguson. Tell her about her. Tell us about her.
Oh, she was, I would say, loving, funny. She had the loudest laugh. She really enjoyed life. She went to a convenience store on August 24th of 2003, came out of the store and was met by gunfire. There was 2 people in a car who decided just to shoot people, and they shot her and 2 others. She didn't survive her injuries. She was deemed brain dead and had to be taken off a machine. The killer, it took a long, hard battle to get him actually chased down, arrested, convicted. It took until August 2018, he entered prison in California after he was convicted of 61 to life, plus life, plus life. I am now dealing with the proposal that they want to give him an early release for the elderly parole program because it took so long to catch him. He's 52 now. And they're looking at a possible parole in 2034, which pretty much adds up that he's doing 7 years for 3 life sentences plus 61 if he's successful. I just don't understand how that can be, as a parent. And this picture I have of her, it's one of my favorites. This is all I have to hold. My daughter was a 25-year-old single mother. She passed away on her only child's 3rd birthday. Thank you.
Bonnie, I'm so sorry. Chris, I feel like every time I hear one of these stories, it's hard to move on because you just want to keep asking questions. Chris Story, your brother Joe, tell us about him.
My brother Joe, he was an amazing man. He loved his family, he loved his country, and he was just, everyone loved him. He loved fishing, riding motorcycles, and I loved riding on the back with him. And he was just an amazing person. He was a small business owner. He owned a small construction company. And I heard him say many times, I will never hire an illegal alien over an American citizen. And he never did. So we were against illegal immigration before he ever got killed. And so they need to hold these companies accountable that hire them. They need to be rougher on them, be harder on them. And we were on vacation at the Outer Banks of North Carolina. An illegal alien who had gotten a ticket 2 months prior for running a red light, ran a red light. He was drunk. Joe died instantly. I was airlifted to Norfolk with critical injuries. The illegal alien ended up fleeing from the hospital. They caught him 2 weeks later in Raleigh, put him in jail. He asked for a bond reduction. First judge said, no way, you're illegal, you've already fled. So they bring in a liberal judge who's married to an immigration attorney, and that judge reduces his bond from $100,000 to $50,000, and he, of course, flees again. When I asked, when they reduced it, I said, who's going to be watching him? They said, nobody. We don't have the manpower. I begged for an ankle monitor. They wouldn't put one on him. And so anyway, my thing is I want to get our story out there. I had so much guilt for living, and my family told me, you're left here for a reason, and this is my reason. I want to get my brother's story out there. I want families to know thousands of Americans are killed every year by these illegal aliens, and they don't care. They have no remorse. I've had people say, how do you know he don't have remorse? I said, he's fled twice. And then in 2019, ICE put him on their top 10 most wanted list, along with 5 other ones. And in 2021, Biden excused 6 of the 10, stating that the crimes they committed did not warrant them being on the wanted list. Like my brother's life meant nothing, or any of our family members who were killed. There's a big difference. We lost our mom in 2009. I was holding her hand. She passed away quietly, peacefully. And that was hard. That was hard. But when someone kills your loved one, your child, your brother, your cousin, anyone, your heart shatters. My heart broke when my mom died. It shattered when my brother got killed. And we do not want this happening to any more families. This has been going on forever. As long as we've been a country, almost, it's got to end at some point. Too many families have been devastated by this, and we don't need any more. So.
And John emphasized this before. The fact that you all have so much courage to speak out about this, it shows how much you care about this country. Your loved ones, yes, but also this country, because you don't want to see that for other people. And I think that is incredibly, incredibly admirable. Brandon Shermock, your mom was killed when you were 16 months old. You're wearing a hat of hers. It's one of the few things that you have left from her. Tell us about your mom.
I don't have any memories of her because I was so young when she was taken from us, but from what I've been told, she was incredibly sweet, a great listener, just a friend to everyone, and that's what I want people to know her by, is all the great she did for the world. And it's just, hard knowing that I'll never see her, ever.
See her in heaven.
Yes, I will.
Can I say one more thing? It's amazing how many people I talk to that will listen to my story, and people that don't want to listen to it, I tell it anyway. And they always say, wow, I never knew there were that many Americans killed by illegal aliens. I hear that all the time, and that's because the mainstream media won't report it. They need to know, and thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
I got one more thing. Sure. I would really like to see Tom Holman go and get all these city council people and county supervisors for aiding and abetting illegal immigration.
Yeah.
I agree, and let me tell you, I would not want to be on the other side of an argument with Tom Homan. That is for sure, John. I'm going to send it back over to you in the studio.
Thanks, Amanda. That was amazing. What a great discussion. I'm here with Nicole Kipperloff. We're going to wrap things up today. Nicole, so many amazing things happened over these last 2 days. We had the awards. We heard some really specific things from Tom Homan about what comes next. We heard from these amazing families. We learned from their tragedy what still needs to be done. And then we're sitting here in the last block, and Vicki Lee Shermock tells us she meets Tom Homan here, and her long unsolved case for her family, he's agreed to take that case. So some good came, and investigations are going to come just because we brought all these amazing people together. It isn't possible without you and the American Border Story. I want to thank you for it.
Thank you as well. It's so incredible to hear that, because she and her family, they deserve justice, finally. And it's really amazing. One important moment that stood out to me, one point that stood out for me from the past couple of days here, is how restoring trust in this country's leadership can be so incredibly life-changing, and has been life-changing for these families. Going from the failed Biden administration, where these families were forgotten, Biden didn't even contact them,
shoved under a rug,
to a successful Trump administration that is prioritizing, finally, the victims over the criminals. It's such a difference. And it's been 3 months, not even, and this administration is already delivering so much justice. So we're so blessed to have President Trump and his entire team, the well-oiled machine, from Kash Patel to Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, Lee Zeldin, Brooke Rollins, everyone, Pam Bondi, they are all needed. And we are so grateful for all of them for doing this incredible work.
We're all so grateful. A lot of people are going to want to know, when do you think we'll see those first scholarships? I can't wait to see them.
We're planning to announce the recipients in the fall, so that'll be some very exciting news to come soon in a few months. So we're very excited for that.
I can't wait. I can't wait to meet the first generation of those scholarship recipients, and such great honor. You never rest. There'll be more stories out on the American Border Story really quickly. We've got a special event coming up this summer. Tell us about it.
We're thinking of doing a town hall with Border Patrol wives. This will take place at a border town, so it'll be at the scene there. This is a unique perspective, because you don't really hear what these wives of Border Patrol agents have gone through. They've received threats, they've been attacked in various ways, and we want to tell their stories next. So I think that'll be very interesting for the American people to hear their voices as well.
Great. All right. Final thoughts for the night.
When our team at the American Border Story was discussing our mission statement, John, and why we produce all of this content in the first place, our brilliant communications director, she said something that can be very difficult, I think, to internalize, but very important to remember. And she said, where there was darkness, there's hope. And the reason, John, why we do what we do is because we want to make sure that the light at the end of the tunnel never dims. We want to make sure that the stories we tell have longevity, and that we never forget the atrocities that occurred as a result of the failure to secure our border. And these stories that we tell, they inspire change, they save lives, and that's why we will always continue to fight. So thank you so much, John. Thank you to Just the News. Thank you to Real America's Voice. Thank you to the Angel families, Border Patrol, federal law enforcement, local law enforcement. You guys are all heroes.
I'm a lot more hopeful just meeting these incredible folks, and that means the mission's been partly accomplished tonight. That's great. All right, folks, we're going to send you off into the weekend with one more story, as only the American Border Story can tell it. Everyone, good night. God bless you. Have a great weekend, and thank you for spending some time with us.
I would pray for justice, but I would also pray that I would never have